Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds is one of those classic man versus nature horror films. Released in 1963, it really showed us just how scary swarms of animals can actually be. Interestingly, there's a tiny bit of science truth that explains why those birds went cuckoo. My name is Austin Lim, and I'm a neuroscience professor who loves looking for rational explanations to supernatural things. Today I'm talking about neurotoxicity in birds. So in the movie, a woman drives from San Francisco to a small town called Bodega Bay, bringing with her a pair of caged lovebirds to deliver to a man's sister. During her stay in Bodega Bay, birds start doing some really weird stuff, attacking the citizens ruthlessly. Now, although the story was based loosely off of Daphne du Maurier's short story, The Birds, Hitchcock was actually inspired to bring the story to life based on something he had heard about. There was a real-life incident in 1961 of a small town called Capitola. One morning in August, the citizens woke up to this disgusting fishy smell all over the place. There were half-digested anchovies thrown up all over around the streets. And equally weird, there were also corpses of birds. Now, the predominant species of birds here are these things called sooty shearwaters. Out of scientific curiosity, some gut samples were collected from these animals, and they discovered a whole ton of diatoms. Now, diatoms are microscopic algae, and even though they may be small, they contribute to a significant amount of oxygen that we breathe on our Earth. Now, under a microscope, these diatoms are amazing creatures. They are beautiful. Unless you've watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, in which case, just run. So the species that was enriched in these gut samples was a thing called pseudonychia. And as you expect from living organisms, you predict all these metabolic processes to take place. Through a series of enzymatic reactions, pseudonychia produce a chemical called domoic acid, and it's processed from glutamate or glutamic acid. Because it's chemically so similar to glutamate, it can activate a similar population of glutamate receptors, specifically the kainate receptors. And in the brain, these receptors are excitatory. That is, they produce an increase in activity of neurons. So according to this theory, these sooty shearwaters gulped up a bunch of this pseudonychia, they pumped out all this domoic acid that then activated all these excitatory signals in their brains, basically leading to a bird psychosis. The mechanism's probably some kind of excitotoxicity. You get too much activity, and then weird stuff starts to happen. All the neurochemical signals start to change in weird and unexplainable ways. Now, could this excitation teach the birds how to swarm down a chimney? Probably not, but it does explain why these birds did some really weird stuff on the morning of August 18th, 1961. Thanks to the algae and their neurotoxin production ability, we have Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. And if you liked my analysis of The Birds, check out my new book, Horror on the Brain, The Neuroscience Behind Science Fiction, where I explain a whole bunch of things in horror and in science fiction literature through the lens of a neuroscientist. And of course, as always, peck on the like button and leave some psychotic bird sounds in the comments.